One of the comments that Howard Hughes said was that one of the comments that he said was they turned our boys against us, and and I think it's because once JFK or someone actually, um, like I said, 3 times in a row, basically, German won the presidency or won the election or something like that, or it was supposed to be like Howard Hughes and like Amelia Earhart. They were a man and woman team, you know. Like I said, I wanted a female and male in charge of my government or my country, if anything, while I was away or whatever. Anyway, though, but like I said, Nixon, or should I say JFK, did far sweeping and wide sweeping corruption and basically charging communist people, basically, with corruption charges or something like that, which is basically just like labeling someone a spy. You know, they didn't really have any evidence or anything other than maybe, uh, building things not quite up to what would be standard or whatever, like doing shoddy workmanship and stuff like that. They really didn't have a case for anything. But they labeled a bunch of people communist, which is basically that's basically but communism is basically communityism. So it's not really a charge. Like, how do you charge someone with being a communityist or a community person? I mean, so it's not really it's a bogus charge, basically. Basically, JFK Nixon did a lot of ridiculous things. Like I said, he came into the presidency or came into the public eye basically or somewhere around Harvard or Yale as a young kid. But like I said, realistically, this started a long time before. Uh, Nixon was, or the original JFK was about 80 or 60 years old or so like that, something like that. And then he, as soon as he could possibly do it, I think he had himself cloned basically, and created about 30 or so little ones of him basically, his boys, as he would say. But they weren't really his boys; they were clones. You know, by several different women. I mean, the whole thing was really sick and disgusting, and just like really just wrong. But basically, it was pretty much Nixon and basically I don't really know. I mean, and they played it off like he was like this great, wonderful, whatever person that was fighting crime and blah blah. Blah. I don't know. Like I say, I don't really know. I just know it was bad. I just know that there was quite a bit of conflict between I believe Jimmy Carter and JFK and John McCain were all on the same side with Lee Harvey Oswald. I guess I don't really know. I know Lee Harvey Oswald was talking about I guess Nixon's counterfeiting coins. I don't really know. Like I said, he made several different statements. So anyway, like I said, JFK was basically a criminal. If you look into it, it goes back to the NASA gym basically, which is this gym and like I said, steroids and basically pretty much kidnapping a doctor or something at one of the schools that was being done by Germany or me actually, and then like I say, basically pretty much pumping steroids into people until they become great big huge muscle bound gorillas, and then trying to use them for enforcers or something like that. And like I say, muscles versus guns doesn't exactly win. And the whole theory of using motorcycles, muscle bound warriors on motorcycles, really doesn't work. You know, um, the Japanese and the Chinese, which were much smaller and much more agile and faster, actually, they really didn't like I said at one point in time I was gonna build lots of an armored suit, or I was having the Chinese or Japanese they spent quite a bit of money on basically an armored suit or something that was basically pretty much bulletproofed. And believe it or not, the Japanese or Chinese, just like the Indians, preferred movement rather than armor for some strange reason, and silent. They said that the armoring and the stuff slowed down their movement speed and also made them more noisy. They were actually better without armor than with armor. So, and personally, I'm like, well, it's your life, and you're the people that are going to die, if because you don't have armor on. So, so I was like, all right, but so I funded the project anyway, and had basically some super suits built that pretty much could take a 45 caliber right point blank, pretty much. You could take a 45 caliber non-armor piercing round and go. And like I said, that's why they have those little flanges on the sides, because when you do that, the force will break your neck, basically. And those flanges stop your neck from being broken. If you did, and basically a 45 point blank is the equivalent of like say a 50 cal a range 50 cal or something like that. So they're really good suits, and they're really, really strong, and they really do work. And they use, like I said, a couple different materials to actually make that possible, where they can actually, and the helmets are pretty thick. And they're pretty much, and even the eyes, they have these little things right here, so you can't exactly, and you have a big screen, so you don't know exactly where the eye is, and you're more likely to hit somewhere else than actually in the eye. Because that's another thing. Like I said, my Japanese or Chinese sharpshooters, oh, they're really good. Like I said, that there's many times when an American soldier or someone would say those Japs can't, those Japanese or Germans can't even hit us, and it's like, if a Japanese or German sharpshooter misses you, he did not mean to hit you. I tried to tell people that. I was like, the Japanese don't miss. They never miss. If they didn't hit you straight on, that's all they do. They train, they shoot, and they train some more. So if a Japanese or Chinese sharpshooter, and what they like to do is actually hit you in the eye, or they were really, really good, really incredibly good. So like Rodney or someone or one of the American military people was like, blah blah blah, they can't even hit us. It's like, if they missed you, they missed on purpose. Like the German sharpshooters and the Japanese sharpshooters were the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. Basically they're basically the same equivalent of this of the American Special Forces, and you know how good those guys are. So, like I was saying, if a Japanese didn't hit you, like I said, during the war, you know what the Germans like to do? You know what my German pilots like to do? Because they didn't really want to kill people, what they would do is they'd fly over, and there'd be the bombers flying like this, right? And my pilots or the German pilots were so good, they go, and they'd come in and they would just shoot the tips of the bombers off. Just in front of the pilots, there was that little cone with the bombers, with the bomber. I mean, with the bombardier, right there with the scope and stuff. And by the way, like I said, the Germans designed those scopes inside the bombers. And they cost about $1,000, something like that. And so what the Germans would do, and they would fly in, and they would just shoot that front end off of the bombers. And like what the Germans would also do is they would turn upside down, and the bubble at the bottom, where the little bubble gunner was, they would just shoot the guy in the bubble bomber. Like they were like, all my pilots did is all they did was fly. That's all they did. They flew every single day, and they flew. Like I said, I always had the best of the best of the best of the best of the best flying with me, or flying for me. So basically, like I said, when I was in command of Germany, and like I said, technically, if you looked at it through time and space, basically, pretty much JFK won the election in America, basically took over America and attacked Germany because Germany would protect me because I was with Germany, or something like that. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird the way you look at it. Like, to you, it appeared to be one thing. But to me and the rest of the universe, it was actually another thing. Like, I was with Germany, blah, 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 and I was losing control of America as America, or somebody was doing blah, blah in America, or something like that. America was still my country, blah, blah. And so they were something, something, something. Anyway, though, I don't really know. It gets all complicated with time and space and basically all kinds of stuff. And it's like, well... Anyway. But that's because I'm Flight and I'm Lucifer Starline. And, like I said, realistically... And, it didn't really matter because it's like, well, it's kind of like a temporary thing because, like, eventually your children's children realize who I truly am. Yeah. And other galaxies and other planets already know who I am. And so there's just this temporary thing where you don't know who I am. because of the word of mouth. like Rick Bush, who's the Jehovah's Witness leader, or somebody like that. Basically, as Rodney, basically they were trying to say that Brian is our son, Lucifer Star is our son, and we have command of whatever, we have his bank accounts and money. And like I said, it was just my travel money. So it's just $100 million sitting inside a bank account. That was my travel money. So I assume Rodney or Rick Bush or someone wanted access to that money. I mean, there's always more. And like I said, that was just my vacation money and just a small little pittance of what I'm really worth. I mean, we're talking about Lucifer Star Lines, basically Titanic, Leviathan, all that other stuff. Yeah, a colony ship, you know. So it's basically just word of mouth and Rodney Bradley and some other idiots just thinking, oh, he's rich. It's like, you have no idea. But you're going to find out at some point. So, like I say, I mean, it's like, well, and realistically, what it's really about is the fact that JFK and John McCain and a few other people thought they could do whatever they wanted. Rape whoever they wanted, have sex with whoever they wanted. I mean, that whole thing about there's not enough resources, we need to take the resources and all that other stuff that the Republicans... Like I say, the whole thing of the Republicans saying blah, 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 or people saying that the Republicans are trying to save us money and blah, 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 blah. But what they're actually doing is just cutting back on benefits and then basically pocketing the difference or just, it's all a lie. The whole thing's a lie. So. And what it actually has to do with is the fact that they don't control the government. Like I said, the Republicans and the Democrats actually don't have access to any money. They're not Lucifer White Star Lines. If they're anything, they're just working for me. And that's another thing, is that they've been, apparently, according to some people, they've been giving themselves raises and basically giving themselves benefits and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, trying to say that people basically gave them or granted in, as part of the laws or whatever. It's like, you guys still work for me. It's still my country. So if I didn't grant you any raises, then yeah. That's why I say, I mean, in many ways you're my hostages in America. I set the taxes, I set the rules, and I set the police department pay. And I set basically the pay for basically the managers of my country. Which means technically you're not even supposed to be able to vote on how much the police are being paid. Now, I admit, I set the pay schedule for the police department's pretty high because I don't want them doing drugs. I don't want them doing bad things, and I want them to be the best police officers and the best security officers, that are possible. I also want them to have the best equipment and the best of everything because I want my citizens of America and my people of America to be safe. So technically, as the people, you're able to do certain things, but technically I have to actually check it off and say, okay. Which is kind of safe for you because of the fact, it was only bad because if someone actually was pretending to be me and stuff like that. But it's like, okay, I set the rate, the pay rate for the police department at about $30,000 to $60,000, blah, 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 depending. The only thing, what the Congress and everybody else and the people are supposed to be able to vote on is basically, what is the going rate? What is a fair pay? And stuff like that. Basically blah, blah. Like I said, as a neighbor of America, that's why the income tax, that's why I said everything in America, actually. The tax rate, the what's called the sales tax, everything. So, believe it or not, I checked off on all those things. And other people wanted it to be done that way. Because, like I say, I am fair and equal. And like I said, I am White Star Lines, Lucifer Star Lines. Belfast, Titanic. I sold Titanic to the Republican men's ships or something like that, or they bought the accident site. I'm not sure. After something happened, I think we did have a conclusive case that it was their fault or something like that, and I think I might have charged them or something like that, so that I made them buy the accident. I don't know. It was a long time ago. There's a lot of things that have happened, but basically, pretty much that's why I also had to come back and make all these messages telling you who I am and what I am. Like I said, but technically, I mean, I'm rich as houses, as they say, or rich as can be. I mean, imagine basically the Titanic or the Leviathan, the Lusitania, and also American Airlines. Even 1% of the money, and I'm basically really fucking rich. And I even invented the whole concept of money. So that's why America is my baby. America is everything. I set your Constitution. I set everything. So, and it really doesn't need to be changed. It really doesn't need very many changes, per se. I even set up your civil companies as well, and some of the structure of your civil companies. I even did some of that. So anyway, yeah, and a lot of people were happy with my rules and happy with the way I set things. I mean, it's a pretty good system. Police are paid really well. They get really good retirement. They retire at age 40 or age 50, which leaves them plenty of room for basically playing around or even going back on the police force. They get bulletproof vests and also a few varieties of weapons. That's why I also checked off on, like I said, a lot of people were using assault weapons on my police officers because my police officers only had the single six shooters or basically the Glock. And so a lot of people were basically overwhelming my police with basically automatic weapons. And that's why I granted the shotgun or the semi-automatic machine gun to be put inside the police cars. That was one of my things because, like I say, if they're going to use automatic weapons on my police, then my police should be using automatic weapons back at them. So, and if it has to go that way, then fine. And like I said, there's still the American military. So, like I said, it is America, and and blah blah blah, and that's just the way it is. So. And if I didn't do it, then some gypsies or some Middle Easterns or about 100 other people would actually be doing it on their own. So anyway, and at one point in time, the Mexicans might have actually been doing a fair amount of peacekeeping or whatever on their own too. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, in the absence of true leadership and blah blah blah, then whoever happens to be around that doesn't particularly want to die has to do it for everyone else. But on most things, I checked off on most things, at least as far as I know. It's one of the reasons why Rodney and other people wanted to just me and take over, because technically, this puppy would run for years. America would happily motor along for years without any leadership at all. You don't need to fuck with the laws. You don't need to fuck with the way things are structured. Me and other people basically fine-tuned it until it was just about right. And while it's true, you're probably not going to become the emperor or king of the world using America. It's basically a deadlock government system. Like I said at one point in time, well, they're not going to be able to pass any laws very easily, but they shouldn't be able to fuck up anything, because of the way it's all structured and everything else between the people and blah, 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 blah. It makes basically passing a law really fucking hard. And like I say, and everything was already accounted for. The Congress or the Republicans are actually kind of lying to you in the fact that they say, oh, blah, 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 we need to pass blah, 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 blah to do this, blah, 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 do that. Realistically, they're just trying to, what they're actually doing is usually cutting back on programs and actually, well, they basically do whatever they want. It's really kind of sick and disgusting. Like, I should just walk in there with a gun and be like, hello, I'm Lucifer Star. What about it? Like I said, compared to some of the other leaders, they've actually done a lot far worse things. So, and technically, I've already been tried for all my crimes. Ha! I've already been. The only thing that they were saying and able to say is basically I was tried as Little Lucifer or Lucifer Star. Like, I haven't been tried possibly as Brian Briley. But it's like, well, I'm the same person. So get over it. Anyway, that's why I'm mad, and that's why basically a few people were dragged off or will be dragged off at the point in time that they die or before they die into the dark, scary night, and possibly other things will have their way with them. Probably. Anyway, like I say, Not to mention all the 1.5s that were tortured. Like I said, thousands of little 1.5 little aliens were tortured. They're cute little guys, and somebody wanted technology, blah, blah, blah. And they found out that little 1.5s were an advanced race and possessing advanced technologies. So somebody started torturing them and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they won they got their freedom back and kicked the ass of whoever was attacking them. But because they're a space going race and they have their own spaceships and everything else and advanced technologies. So anyway, and like I say, using 1940s technology versus it's like you have 1940s, 1980s, and basically a fair amount of computer technology and stuff like that. They are an advanced race, having been in existence at least 150 million years before you came along. I don't think it went very well for someone. Anyway, so I don't really know. I don't really care. That somebody was going to have problems. So, anyway. Yes. Like I said, somebody figured that once I started my vacation or once I went on my vacation that they could do all kinds of things behind my back. And it's like, yeah, but they know me. Anyway. And basically, starting from when I was a child and going on into the future, Rick Bush, Rodney Bradley, and a whole bunch of other people were basically just trying to kidnap me or trying to make me think I was Brian, so I wouldn't remember or something like that. Well, they ran around on my ships, spent all my money, and basically acted a fool. And eventually got themselves whatever. I don't know. And eventually you have basically Zachary or Bill Gates handing over or selling. I believe he sold the plans for the LS shells or rounds, basically the Lucifer Starlight rounds. And when I was a small child, they're like, oh, they're just light rounds, and I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? And I actually caught it. Like I said, they almost actually kept on using those nuclear shells for a long time, but I caught it, and I was like, what do you mean light shells? Because some of my light shells were basically a nuclear reaction in midair, and very dangerous. Because how can light shells be used on tanks? You can't use light rounds on tanks, so it had to be something else. And I think that's when they sent people over there to see if they're the nuclear reaction bullets. So, or shells, rounds. And that's when the people finally got the protection that they were needing. And like I said, Zachary or someone, like I said, Ronnie Brady and also Richard Nixon and other people would always talk about killing two birds with one stone. And it's like, well, great. So yeah, and a lot of people considered their army people or their military people expendable. Unlike me. So, but like I said, these people were usually not in control of the government and just lying to people. So yeah. I said there's a lot of things going around, a lot of things being done that weren't supposed to be done. A lot of people basically, nobody, they assumed nobody was looking, or they thought nobody would be looking, so they were just doing things. The equivalent of basically getting a job at Costco and then rolling up the back door and basically emptying the store. And putting little signs saying out of stock on everything. So anyway, only, like I say, some of the things that I had floating around this planet and floating around in general are very dangerous and could actually get you killed or even cause you to compromise your own existence. In other words, if you traveled back in time and say you shot someone, you might actually be shooting the parents, the grandparents of your wife, and all of a sudden you never meet her and you never fall in love or something else. I don't know. So anyway, and like I said, there were lots of people that were splunking around, playing with all kinds of things, including nuclear radioactive isotopes. Which, to me, like I say, for me, you playing around with nuclear isotopes and nuclear shells is kind of almost like a joke. I don't know where the Maltese Falcon is, says the guy with no eyebrows and no hair. That died about 5 or 6 months or 5 years later, or some amount of time later. Like I say, first thing I think is you become sterile, or first thing, or somewhere between sterility and blah blah blah. You basically, your immune system gets compromised, and basically, you no longer have the ability to fight off germs or diseases. Somewhere in that somewhere, blah blah. And then after that, there's all kinds of other nasty things that happen. So anyway, yeah, radiation and other things is not a joke. And like I say, I'm Lucifer Starline. There were a lot of really dangerous things lying around. Or say you land on a planet and you have no idea what's there, or blah, 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 and it happens to be one of my exoskeletons or one of my acid form life forms. And you go up and say hi. I mean, or something else. There's lots of very dangerous things out there. Or say you get access to some other really, really, really dangerous weapon. There's lots of things that were very dangerous around with my empire. And there's just these stupid humans going la 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 la. Or like Richard Nixon. Let's blow it up. Why would Richard Nixon care? Why would Papa care? He was 80, he was 90 years old. He was, he didn't. They didn't. Why would they care? They basically just walked in and found the engine running on a government and said, "Ooh, look." And meanwhile, Rodney's like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, blow up the world, man. Sounds nice. Yeah, give me that pussy. Oh, yeah, pussy, pussy, pussy." It's like, yeah, and meanwhile, Rick Bush or someone else who can't, what's it called, is like, "I can't pay them back. We can't let Brian get into the White House. We can't let him get into the White House." It's like, get into the White House? It's my house. And, I don't really care. I mean, I just built a house. I was supposed to be present for my vacation or whatever. But, I mean, hey, I don't really even care. It's like, end your existence if you want to, man. What does it matter to me? I'm 99 trillion years and basically colony ship and basically the LSF Blackbird, faster than the speed of sound and all that sound barrier and jet engines and steamships and it's like, what else is there left to do? 12 galaxies, number one in civilization or in existent civilizations. I mean, creator of 12 or 9 of the oldest life forms in existence. And, just taking my first vacation among you. I mean, hey, you want to walk in and basically, here you go, guy. If you want that to happen to you, then hey. I mean, and Rodney and Rick Bush and a whole bunch of other people that are basically should have gone to jail a long time ago will probably go to jail. There's a lot of people that were going to go to jail or basically should be locked up. And like I said, realistically, it's basically epic stupidity, pretty much. I don't really know. I don't really care. It's like, yeah, it's basically just epic stupidity. And technically there's only 680 trillion years until this other galaxy gets here anyway. So, and basically Rodney and a bunch of people are like, deny, 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 deny. It's like, yeah, that's like denying gravity. Gravity doesn't exist. I mean, I don't, what? What do you want from me, man? I mean. And you had Godney, which is basically President Rodney or whatever, or someone. And you also had like Abraham Lincoln. Like I said, I was so rich, like it'd probably take like 500 people to actually spend my money, or trillions of people to spend my money. Like, even if someone did whatever they wanted or was able to spend as much money as they wanted, there was basically almost a never-ending supply of money with me. So, yeah. It's more of a problem of what you probably will most likely do, like get access to a nuclear bomb, or say go in and take the shield. Like I said, do you know what they did? They wanted to know how nuclear weapons worked. So they had some scientists, so they had some people, and they went in and they unscrewed the shielding on a nuclear bomb to look at it. They didn't live very long. They did not live very long. And I think they might have called me and were wondering why their scientists were dying. Like I say, folks, my name is Lucifer Star. Planet creator, creator of all kinds of things. And basically, if, like I said, there were nuclear cruise ships, there were nuclear trains, and basically that's why the Leviathan had to be scrapped out the proper way, because it was actually a nuclear cruise ship. It had a nuclear reactor inside of it. So it couldn't just be sunk, it had to actually be decommissioned. Basically the proper way, using suits and blah, 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 and very carefully. But you never know. It might have been just like the first nuclear powered submarine, where they stole it and then tried to take it apart, by unbolting it. And yeah, the first team that started taking it apart only lasted a week or two, and then the second team lasted, I don't know, a little bit longer. So, and they were trying to keep it all a secret that they were trying to whatever, and it's like, you can't reverse engineer everything, So yeah, and they were trying to do all this stuff behind my back. And it's like, well, of course I found out. People were wondering why the people were dying in these towns. And it turned out the reactor core, or the reactor, was basically being stored in a barn. And was killing everyone in the town. Everyone in the town was getting sick and dying. So anyway, oh well. Just probably things. I think it was the Republicans or someone. I don't really know. Maybe it was Rick Bush. Who knows? People knew what I had and knew what I was around in the planet. And like I say, the scientists told them, it's just kind of like they were also trying to take pictures of the nuclear reactors. They were walking in, like I said, my scientists said, you can't go inside the reaction chamber, blah, 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 blah. And they said, you're hiding something from us. We know there's something in there, and you're trying to keep it from us. And they took normal cameras in there, and they were taking pictures of the stuff, and basically getting themselves irradiated. And then they would go home, and they would be like, they must have gotten to the film. They had to have gotten to the film. Where did you leave it? Did you leave it in the car? They thought that I had little space aliens, It's not a joke. It's not a joke. I'm serious. They actually got so paranoid. They thought my little space aliens had got in there, switched off the camera cases. So they went back 3 times. He finally asked the scientist about it or something like that. Or someone finally got a clue. They were trying to use store-bought, off-the-shelf cameras to take picture of the nuclear reactors. It's not a joke. I'm not joking. I'm really not joking. It's true. It's what Richard Nixon or JFK or those people were doing to try and figure out nuclear power. They did the same thing to my LSF or my the LSF Blackbirds. They would take off panels and they would. And my German scientists were telling me, they're putting cameras all over that place, all up inside there, and taking pictures of everything, trying to figure out how it works, blah blah. With it's like, but you really can't tell how it works, what it's made of, just by taking pictures of it, And then they were trying to say that they built it. So I mean, just. That's what all those photographs of the Lockheed factory, blah blah. They would just clear out all my people once, and then they would go in there and they would make sure. Now this doesn't actually straighten your back too much when you're lifting up this panel and down, lifting up this panel and down, lifting up the panel and down. Now let's see if this panel will cause a back strain. No, and down.
And back up.
Nope. It's clear. There is definitely no carpal tunnel or possibility of causing undue back pain by moving that panel up and down. And meanwhile, they'd also be filming the workers doing the thing, trying to say, this is us, this is Lockheed building the SR-71. I'm not joking. And then they tried to kill off all the people who actually built the SR-71 LSF Blackbirds. Serious. Go back in time and space and take a look. JFK, Richard Nixon, all of them, everything was a lie. It was a great big lie. So Lockheed had nothing to do with SR-71. Nothing to do with the U-2 spy plane. It was all Russia or Germany or Europe, England. America had nothing. Well, America, this side had nothing to do with any of the aerospace stuff or any of the jet stuff. Absolutely nothing. They were just taking money, blah, 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 but they did not build any supersonic jets. They did not do any rocketry. They did not do anything. They just completely intended to steal everything from Europe and kill them. The whole time. So they did not build, America or United States did not build one B-52 bomber. They did not build one U-2 flying glider. They did not build any of the LSF Blackbirds or any of the Blackbirds. They did not build any of the thing. They might have built the Tomcat finally, but they didn't even do that. Like Europe was already developing the swept-wing fighters and everything else like that. It was all Europe. It was all Germany. It was all Europe. America and Lockheed had nothing to do with it. They just intended to kill everyone or kill off most people and say that they did it. And you can even tell Russia used 4 tires on their aircraft or whatever because they didn't have the rubber quality that Germany had. Germany could do higher pressure tires, or Europe could do higher pressure rubber tires than Russia. So Russia used more tires and 4 of them. 2 front landing gears or something like that because the rubber technology wasn't quite there on their stuff. But Germany or Europe or my team had better rubber and better stuff, so we could do 3 or 1 front landing gear and 2 back. Anyway, though, so yeah, it was called the Republican lie, and I don't really care. It's like, well, yeah, Richard Nixon, John McCain, and all of them, they're basically pieces of shit, along with Rodney and everybody else, just saying we have to take it. There aren't enough resources in the world. Realistically, they didn't have anything. They were poor. They had guns, and that's why they called them the Yankees. And they're basically just pieces of shit. They knew that Europe was the leading cutting edge on everything, and they figured they would just wait until they came out with all this stuff, and then they would go kill them, steal it, and bring it over here. Anyway, so like I say, and all for nothing anyway. Because like I say, well, it's just one planet. It's just one place. And my LSF colony ship launched hundreds of trillions of years ago, and I spent billions upon trillions of years flying around the galaxy and the universe. So, and there are many other life forms, and a lot of them are very dangerous and very much knew me. So, anyway, like I say, yeah, oh well, it already happened, it's happening, it'll happen again. It's happened before. And they just keep trying. It's like saying, the sun will not come up tomorrow, the sun will not come up tomorrow, the sun will not come up tomorrow. Here, let's all blindfold ourselves, and we'll walk around saying that there's no sun, there's no sun, there's no sun. There's no light anywhere. There's no light anywhere. No light. And like the rest of the world's like, The rest of the universe is like, why do they have blindfolds on, wandering around saying that there's no sun, and the light and the sun has gone out? And other people are like, I don't know. That's just whacked. So, like I said, I mean, whatever, and I'm basically like, well, I was proud of my humans. I was very proud of my humans. I'm still proud of my Irish and my Belfast people and my Germans and basically my Indians and my Native Americans and even the Mexicans. So, and some other people. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess just ignore them. Just ignore them. There's no sun, there's no star, there's no more light. So, I mean, only they have guns, and now, and then they think, wait a minute, the people that can see will know that there's light. There! No, there's no light! There's no light! And there's nobody to tell us any different. And like I say, Putin, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. You're a good man. It's just sad how many people died, how many people were tortured, or how many people were killed trying to pursue this ridiculous idea they had. Like I say, I'm just Lucifer Starline, and basically the name of America, the one who adjusted the Constitution, and everything else, and basically the one who invented basically everything in America. Um, as far as everything else, I don't know what to tell you. Shrug. Have a good existence. I'm really sorry. Good job on Russia, by the way. Keep up the good work. You guys are doing great work over there, and I'm really proud of you. And it's good to see that you guys have cleaned up the place and everything's going along just fine. And like I say, you were always the best and most awesome, and I'm still proud of you guys. Okay? I'm sorry that the United States or America or whatever bombed you, and I had nothing to do with that or any control of that, and I'm really sorry. And I'm really super proud of you guys, and I love you, and I care about you, and this whole situation just sucks. So, anyway, oh well. Yeah. So, like, yeah, the Pope is a piece of shit. Forget about the Vatican. Forget about the Congress. Yeah, they're all just lying, whatever. I don't know. Good luck with your existence. Yeah, So, oh well, guys. I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, and to the directors and film stars and dancers and everybody else that actually was just doing whatever, and the people that took out the trash and made the trains run fine, and all the iron workers and everybody else and miners. I say great job. You guys are awesome and the best. And I don't know what to tell you about the leaders. I had nothing to do with it, basically. Um, so it's just really unfortunate.